Welcome to Khmer Voices, where we shine a spotlight on the achievements of the Cambodian diaspora around the world. I'm your host, Vani, aka Vani. You are listening to season 2 finale episode. It's summer break, and as listenership slows down a bit, I've decided to do the same. I'm slowing down too. I will be taking a break this summer and we'll be back in September. And with it being the last episode of the season, I had to end it with a bang. Today, you'll get to know Visal Sok, or rather, Sok Visal. In case you didn't know, because I learned this just last year myself, in Cambodia, a person's name is spoken and written in the order last name and then first name. Vong Visal is most notably known for his music label KlapYaHandz and widely known as one of the pioneers of Cambodian hip hop. He was born in Phnom Penh, raised in France, and later returned to Cambodia in the late 1990s, where he helped rebuild our homeland in the best way he knew how, which is creatively. Not only does he run a record label, he also co founded 802 Films, producing and directing internationally recognized projects that aim to bridge Cambodian stories with global audiences. He's got his hands in a lot of things, actually. Beyond music and film, Vong Visala has worked in advertising, events, artist management, and creative strategy. He's also co founder of Write and Eat, a community initiative supporting Southeast Asian writers and filmmakers. And did you know he spent a couple of his teenage years in the US? Yeah. Although only a couple of years, it strongly shaped who he is today. So we covered all this, plus poignantly his personal healing journey and our healing as a collective. He's a visionary, and that sort of talk, inspires me. Of course, we touched on AI and how he's not fazed by it and actually embraces it. The most important takeaway for me in this episode doesn't pertain to business, though. It's more personal. Listen on to find out. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode with one of the most inspiring people I have come across. So I would have already introduced you in the introduction, the what people consider the pioneer of hip hop in Cambodia. Do you accept that title?
Not really, honestly, not really. But I think I was part of the four people. I call it the four people who actually started hip hop in Cambodia. But I think I credit my bigger brother. His name is Soap, DJ Soap. They call it DJ Soap in Cambodia, who actually made the first move to promote hip hop on radio. Because he was a radio DJ back then, in Love FM, I think. Yeah, he was promoting hip hop, and then his house was always that place where everybody hang out every
Mm.
evening, every Saturday and Friday and weekends and stuff. So he was I think Soap was always been a free, how you say that, a free man, a guy who he was doing whatever he wanted to do, and his house was always the place everybody was meeting. And we have local Cambodians, and we have Cambodian from France, Cambodian from America. Everybody's meeting here at his place, and I think, yeah, he kind of promoted hip hop on the radio, and then he started to actually kind of a he created this kind of collective of local rapper or local Cambodian kids who started rapping because they were hearing the music every day at his place. And yeah, and so I created him as the real godfather of hip hop. I came after him
Okay.
because back then, I mean, we kind of help actually, we because there was him doing all the promotion. I later came in with the real Khmer hip hop sound, taking samples of Khmer of old Cambodian song and mixing them with Khmer with hip hop sound and stuff. And then we have another friend. His name is DJ Illes, who's actually Cambodia first hip hop DJ. He had turntables, he was scratching and stuff like that. And then later on, KK from Tiny Toons organization came in and started, giving real training, hip hop and breakdance, to kids and impoverished kids. So there was four of us, 5 of us, but DJ Soap started out,
Okay.
honestly, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into that a bit more, but I like to go in sort of chronological order. Can you tell us
Mhm.
from the very beginning, like where you were born? People don't realize that you were raised in France. I hear the French accent. So could you
Mhm.
tell
Yeah,
me
yeah.
more about your upbringing?
Mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah. I think a lot of people thought that Clappy Hands was founded by this Cambodian American, and actually they, no, I think it's because also in Cambodia everybody speak English, most of the time when you work, when in your professional life. But so actually I was born in Cambodia in 1971, and my father was a soldier, and he was fighting the Khmer Rouge back then, and he saw that the Khmer Rouge was coming closer and closer to the capital, and that's when he decided to kind of tell everybody that we might lose the war against them, and they're gonna come and take over the place. And he informed his family, but nobody really believed in whatever was happening. So he just we left, because he was a soldier. We left to the border, and then finally we got into Thailand. And then when the fall of Phnom Penh happens, we couldn't go back to Cambodia, and that's when we had to decide where to go and what to do. And so we decided to go to France, because France was accepting refugees from Cambodia, because after the fall of Phnom Penh, there was a lot of refugees. I mean, there was a lot of things happening. So I grew up in France, from I think from 1975, 76 onwards.
How old were you
Grew
when
up
you
there.
how old were you when you arrived in
I think it
France?
was so I was born in 71. So by the time I was in France, I was about 5 years old, five,
Okay.
6 years old.
Do you have any
Yeah,
recollection of
five,
your
6 years
time
old.
in Thailand?
Not really, not
Mm,
really. Honestly, I don't have a lot of recollection of my time when we left Cambodia. I just had sounds of helicopter.
mm.
I had this recurring vision of walking in the field and seeing this traditional theater in the middle of the field. But that's it. And I think I remember taking the plane to France, and I think I eat something, and I felt I didn't feel good in the plane. And I remember that I threw up, but that's it. I don't have a lot of recollection,
Mm.
somehow, some ways. So yeah, so from 76 onward, live in France. My parents has to restart their life all over again from scratch, so they had to learn the language. My father had to learn some skills, to be able to get some job, some work. So it was very kind of difficult for them. I mean, I think it's not a unique story
Mm.
of refugees. I think everybody went through that. So having something happening in Cambodia, the war came, and then you have to leave your country to another foreign country, and you have to restart everything from zero, from scratch. And I think a lot of people, a lot of parents went through that. So my parents went through the same.
Did your parents speak French? Or do they speak French now?
No, I think my father, they had basic French, knowledge,
Mm.
because Cambodia obviously was under the French kind of a protectorate for a few years. But he wasn't fluent in French. I mean, he couldn't really use it to communicate professionally,
Hmm.
but he could navigate, using his French. But still, I think they had to go back to school and learn the language, and of course, learn skills and stuff like that. So my parents and my family, I think we went through a lot of. I would say that we had a very unstable life in France, from 76 all the way to I think 85, 86. Yeah, 85, 86. So when we started to be about more stable. But I remember that we were moving every year. Every year we were moving to one city to another. My parents was always looking for better opportunities.
Mm.
They started as the first year they were in France. They started as helpers in the house. They were helping these old rich ladies in her villa. So cleaning, gardening, whatever they could do to have a job and to have a salary. And then they started working in the factories, and then they did factories, and then they tried to open a restaurant and work for a year. Then they stop and they try to. I mean, they try so many different kind of jobs and small businesses, and we were moving a lot. That's
How
why I
did that
remember
affect
moving a
you?
lot until.
Because you didn't have chance to develop
Uh,
solid friendships for a decade.
Exactly. So that's the first thing is that I became very introverted because I didn't really speak to people when I was in school. The second thing is that I wasn't good in school because I couldn't keep up. We would have focused. Basically, me and my brother, we couldn't focus on studies because we were moving around every year and a half, something like that. So, and I'm telling you what, I don't know how many places I saw in my life, but yeah. So we had a very unstable life. My parents was always looking for better opportunities, and they went through a lot of up and down, and until around, I think, until around 1985, when we settled in this housing project in the north side of Paris, in the suburb of Paris.
Hmm.
And then that's why we kind of started to kind of settle down. My dad was a taxi driver back then. My mom was working in this shopping center, doing, that lady that comes in and take your clothes when you want to try some clothes on.
Hmm.
Yeah, she was doing that. And at night she was sewing clothes at night. So she had two jobs
Yeah.
just to, just to pay bills and stuff. But
I have a
yeah,
question. I have a question.
and yes, go ahead, go ahead.
While you're moving around,
Yeah.
did you keep in touch with Cambodian communities?
No, no. I actually we did, but my parents. I think my parents did keep in touch with a lot of Cambodian living in France. So
Hmm.
I think they were already traumatized by the fact that they wanted to go back to their country, but they couldn't. Mostly my dad. My dad wanted to join the resistance
Hmm.
to fight the Khmer at the border, on the border. But my mom stopped him from going. So yeah, he was a bit. I think he was a bit traumatized by that because he kind of shut down. I mean, I grew up with a father in my house, but he never talked to me. He never really We never had a conversation. He was always quiet, and he was always thinking about how to help his country or whatever and whatnot. So my parents, the connection with whoever was Cambodian was friends that they met, that they knew in Cambodia, that was also refugees in Cambodia, was very important.
Hmm.
So I think they try to meet their friends every weekend when they can, even if they live far. They had to just go, take the ride and go meet them. I remember that because yeah, I remember those trips where they meet each other at their house and they started drinking and talking about the past, the country, and all that stuff. So I remember that uh, very, very clearly. And they do that. They try as much as possible to stay connected with their friends and their little community because, contrary to America, Cambodia has a very small community and of Cambodian, and they're very dispersed.
Oh, you mean in
They're
France?
not concentrated in France. Yeah,
Okay. Oh, you said
I was
Cambodia.
talking about.
Yeah. You said in
No, no,
Cambodia.
sorry. I was
Yeah.
no. I was talking about in
Yeah.
France right now. We're talking about my life in France. So sorry if
Yeah.
there's a
No, no problem. So,
misunderstanding.
so
Yeah, yeah,
contrary
yeah.
to the United States, in France, the Cambodians are dispersed throughout the country.
Yes, yes. We don't have, huge community like in Low or Long
Mm.
Beach and stuff like that. So it's really small communities in different towns around Paris or inside of Paris. So I, first of all, I grew up, and so I never got to have Cambodian friends, but we have people that we call family that we grew up with and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when I became a teenager, I didn't have any Cambodian friend. Maybe one that was living in the same neighborhood that was where I was living, but I didn't have Cambodian friends. We had people that we knew,
Hmm.
but they were not really friends because we were meeting them once in a while when there was Khmer New Year
Hmm.
celebrations or stuff like that. In my teenage years, I wasn't really connected with my Cambodian roots,
Did you
basically.
maintain the Khmer
Basically,
language during your teenage years and the decade that you were moving around?
yeah.
Hmm.
I think we knew the basic. I think in at home we speak the basic Cambodian, like I'm hungry, eat,
Hmm.
whatever, shower, clean, whatever, the basic stuff. But we always ended up speaking French more than Khmer at home, because our parents were speaking Khmer more than French. But we were doing both,
Hmm.
at home. But it wasn't the French, the Khmer that I can talk now. It
Hmm.
was very basic,
Hmm.
very very basic.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what happened in, was it 86 you said?
Yeah, so we so in 86, finally around 84, 85, actually 84, 85, we
Hmm.
started settled down, actually not moving around anymore in this housing project in the north side of Paris. And that's where actually we were, me and my brother, we were entering our teenage life, and slowly we got into hip hop and trouble. Yeah, hip hop and trouble. Hip hop and trouble. Because yeah, it was a housing project, so it was really, a lot of African people, a lot of people from Africa, from Tunisia, Algeria, all these places. And so, all, I wouldn't say everybody was poor, but everybody was not rich where
Hmm.
we live.
Hmm.
And we hang around, and of course there was a lot of challenging moment for us Asian kids, because we were bullied and stuff like that. So we went through all that, and when hip hop came, I think my brother got into gangs, and I got into being a graffiti artist, and later on a rapper. So we got into hip hop in different ways, and actually art saved me from being in trouble. At the same time, I started to get in trouble because I was doing graffiti. I was doing a lot of it wasn't, it wasn't, and it's still not legal to paint on a wall, and,
Hmm.
and doing whatever we were doing back then.
When you were doing
So yeah.
graffiti, was it like an artistic expression or was it actual graffiti?
No, it was both. It was both because,
Okay.
like I said, I was a very introverted kid. I ended up being introverted, so very artistic. I express myself a lot with drawings, and building things, and manual, with arts and stuff like that. So naturally, I got into graffiti and tagging, because just, I love graphic. I was drawing a lot, so it was natural for me to get into that. Um, but at the same time, it wasn't legal. Back
Hmm.
then, it wasn't legal. I think when our generation started doing graph and stuff, it wasn't legal. So it's not now. It's not now where now graffiti, or it's part of a culture. You can do
Hmm.
it, and people know and respect it. Back then, no. And actually, back then, it was, yeah, it was a competition. It was about how can you, do the craziest tags in the craziest locations, and how much you can show yourself and show people that you're everywhere. You've been everywhere with through your tags and stuff. So yeah. So I got in trouble a few times. I got arrested a few times for that, and and this is leading to the fact why I went to the U.S. is because I got in trouble. And my brother, my little brother, actually, he left home at the age of 13 and never came back after that, and he got in trouble. Yeah. And then he came back because the cops was bringing him back, so he got in trouble. He got into gangs and stuff. So my mom was freaking out when I started also getting kind of arrested, but I wasn't
Uh,
getting arrested for, I was getting arrested for graffiti and
mhm.
vandalism. They call it vandalism back then. And so she got so afraid that I was turning bad for her, was, that she sent me to the States. That's how I got to live. I live in the US for two
Where in
years.
the US were you?
Yeah. I was in Providence, Rhode Island
Right.
for 2 years. Yeah, yeah. So I lived there. So that's the story why. And when people ask me, hey, why did you go to the States? And I
Uh-huh.
told them, yeah, I went to study, but there was a reason why I got sent to the US.
Yeah, I
So yeah.
remember in another
So
podcast episode you were on, you mentioned that
mhm.
when you arrived in the States, it wasn't what you had expected. Can you tell me what
No,
you
it
were
wasn't
expecting
because
and what you actually experienced?
okay, so we grew up, I mean, in fact, I mean, I grew up with a lot of on American culture.
Hmm.
So, music, cinema, and I love cinema. Actually, my dream when I was a kid was to become a filmmaker. And one of my idol was Steven Spielberg. I think Steven Spielberg changed my life, have had a big impact on who I am today as a man, and as a filmmaker, as an artist. And the thing is, what I love about movies, American movies back in the 80s, that's how, I get watching, is that they show this, this side of America that was beautiful. It's like this country where, you can turn anything into your dream into reality, and everything looks so good. You have this kid with a bike running around in the neighborhood. It's clean,
Suburbs.
you
Yeah.
know green suburbs and all that stuff. That's what they showed in mostly in Spielberg movies.
Mm.
And and this is the way I perceive America. I was watching The Goonies, Back to the Future, and all these places. All these movies depicted a really beautiful side of America, and this is what I was expecting going there. So I live in a housing project, and then when I left to go to America, I end up living in another kind of a. It wasn't a housing project, but everybody that lived in the neighborhood were Cambodian, and they were all blue collar,
Mm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
So they were not rich. They were not, they, and so yeah. So I saw it. It was yeah. It wasn't the America that I was thinking.
Did you see
That I
similarities
was.
between where you lived in France and where you lived in Rhode Island in the States?
No, 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 not
No,
at all. I
not at
think
all.
it's
Okay.
two different worlds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really, really two different world. Whether I think in France, I think we are a real melting pot of people, really mixing together. We
Mm-hmm.
have people from Africa. I mean, the country is full of immigrants. And so we live together. We all live together, and we have to go. While what I discovered in America, even though I landed in, so it was my first time hands-on experience living with real Cambodian. That was, that people that survived the Khmer Rouge, that
Mm.
lived through the Khmer Rouge and survived it. Because most of my family there did that. They couldn't they didn't have the chance like my parents to leave the country, so
Mm-hmm.
they all got stuck during the Khmer Rouge.
So was that your first
And
time hearing the
half
stories of firsthand stories
Yes,
of
yeah,
people that
yes,
went through it?
yes, 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 yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, correct. So yeah, living every day for 2 years with Cambodian people, my family, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, and hearing those stories, but also hearing the language and how they never forgot the language. They were speaking Khmer like every day, better than us in France. And also the thing is that, like I said again, they were not rich, so they were living in this neighborhood and these old houses. And we live in apartments. I mean, the housing projects in Paris, in the north side of Paris, are a bit like the housing project in New York, for
Mm.
example, in the East Coast in New York.
Mm-hmm.
But where we live was all this old house. I mean, Providence is how they call that, New England, style
Mm-hmm.
houses, those wooden houses.
Yeah.
So everybody was living in this house in the neighborhood, and that we didn't have in France, so it was different. And of course, a lot of people was gambling and uh, going to casino, and they had this life that was very, very different. I mean, it's a very two different culture,
Mm-hmm.
France and America.
Mm-hmm.
And also the community thing, what I said. And in France, we don't have huge community of Cambodians. It's a very small community here and there, and it's not. And while in Providence, you got a few streets, and it's all Cambodian living there. And I think Providence has a quite big Cambodian community there.
Mm-hmm.
And but then again, they don't mix. They stay together. They don't mix with with Puerto Rican or African American or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then again, there was a lot of issues as well within the community as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I got there in the early end of the 80s and early 90s. So that's already when all the gangs started to become, and all the gang thing was started to become more and more. I would say there was a rise, the rise, beginning of the rise of the gang stuff.
So
So it
while
was, yeah, it
while
was
that was
very
happening in
different.
France, it was happening in the US as well. So you couldn't really get away from that.
Yeah, yeah. At the same time, France is different. Even though we had gangs in France, but we didn't have access to weapon like in
Mm.
America has access to firearms. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we France has a tougher law on firearms. You
Yeah.
cannot buy a gun off the shop. It's
Mm-hmm.
impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So it was different. I would say it was less violent, even
Mm-hmm.
though it was sometimes because mostly in the higher level of gangsterism, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, at our age, our level, it wasn't that bad. It was just a lot of fist fights and a lot of, sometimes knives involved, but no guns. So it wasn't that, it was very different.
Mm-hmm.
While in America, everybody had
Oh
gun.
man,
Everybody was,
that's scary.
you
Did you
know.
tell your
So
mother
it was,
the situation? Did you? Well, let me backtrack a bit.
not really, not really. Yeah,
Mhm.
not really, because back then a lot of the my cousin was still young. They were not in gangs yet, so they were still young. And like I said again, I arrived I kind of at the beginning. At the beginning, it wasn't really the beginning yet, but it was at the beginning. And a lot of the kids who ended up being gangsters, and some of my cousin ended up joining gangs and stuff, but they were still young back then. So and then when I arrived, it was 89, 90. So it was kind of yeah, it was still great. Somehow it was still good. It wasn't that violent yet. I
Mhm.
think things started to spiraling out or whatever 2 or 3 years after that, like early 90s, 92, 93. That
Mhm.
started to become bad, I think. But I left by then. I already left. So
Why did you decide
my
to
mom
leave?
wasn't really. Ah, First of all, I think America was a good experience. I think for somehow, some way, um, even though it was different, I enjoy learning about all those culture. First of all, my own culture, my roots, by living with my family that survived the Khmer Rouge, and they told me all the stories. That's actually where I started connecting with Khmer music more, and
Mm.
that's what made me 10 years after that, you know make me sample Khmer music and put into my music, into hip hop, because I was living with my cousin, and my cousin was playing a lot of Khmer music all the time. Not that I didn't have the music in the background when I was in France, because my parents was playing Khmer music in the background as well, but I never really pay attention. They
Mhm.
were part of the soundtrack of my life, but I never really pay attention. While when I was in America, I started paying attention because my cousin was playing it, and then he was telling me stories too about the singers, and about what this song reminded him, and he was talking about Cambodia before the war and stuff like that. So that made a lot of impacts on me, and then of course I got to learn about the American culture and everything like that. So it was very, no matter what, it was a very rich experience. But then I did my first year in America. I was in high school, so I did a senior year in high school, graduated, and then I went to college, community college, because I couldn't afford more expensive college. So I went a year in community college, majoring in liberal arts, so doing photography, painting, drawings, illustration, and stuff like that. But at one point, the second year, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't. My mom didn't have the money to pay for the school, and I didn't really work back then.
Mm.
So no money to pay school. So I decided to go back to France
Mhm.
after 2 years. And yeah, that's what happened. That's
What
why
did you do
I
in
left
front?
America.
Okay, so you were in your late teens, early 20s when you went back to France?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Were you
Yeah.
did you
Correct.
did you go back to work then or
So
did you go back to school?
yeah. No. I started working. I had no choice. So when I
Oh,
so when I went back
I have a
to
question. If
France,
you're a French citizen, wouldn't
yes,
school be cheaper for you for post-secondary?
I wasn't a French citizen.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't. I wasn't. My parents never applied for a French citizenship,
Mm.
even though we lived there, 18 years, 17 years.
Uh-huh.
My parents never wanted to stay in France, basically.
Oh.
Just to tell you that my upbringing, my very unstable upbringing is because my parents never wanted to stay in France, I guess. And they was always trying to find opportunities to get by, I guess. And that's why we had they never wanted to settle down, and
Mm.
everything was very temporary.
Mhm.
And this I guess this kind of I call it the survival mode,
Mhm.
was transferred to me later on when in my adult life. But this is what I saw when I was a kid. Everything that me and my brother, not only me but my brother as well, is that we were already, we were moving all the time. We we had very unstable life. We live at people's places, and my parents was, it was a lot of ups and down all the time. It was never stable. And that's what we had. And on top of that, we had a father who never really gave us any education, basically. But but then my parents were working hard all the time, so that's all we saw. That's all
Mm-hmm.
we saw,
Mm-hmm.
and then they never applied for a French citizenship. They never did that. So we never got to be French. So even though when I went to the U.S., I had what we call a um, how did you call that? It's a permit to travel that they give to refugees or to immigrants.
Like a visa,
It's
or
a permit to travel. No,
I
no,
don't
no. It's a
know.
permit to travel. It's like a passport. It's like a passport, but it's not a proper passport. It's
Okay.
something that you give to people who live in France
Mm-hmm.
but are not French citizens. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, were you,
so we
so you
never
were
applied
considered like
for
a permanent resident? Is
kind of,
okay.
yeah, yeah. So why did you ask me this question, by the way?
Oh, what did you do when you were in France when you came
Oh yeah,
back?
so I came back and my parents already left to Cambodia back in the 90s when I came back. So I came back in 91, at the end
Uh-huh.
of 91, I forgot. Somewhere like that. End of 91 or early 2002, early 92, sorry, 92. And my parents were already back in Cambodia. So
Oh.
so what happened? Yeah. So what happened in the 90s is that in the late 80s, they started already trying to, create peace in Cambodia. I think
Mm-hmm.
Cambodia was under the Vietnamese kind of a
Yeah.
occupation because they came and kind of saved the country in the 79. And then the UN, America, Europe, they were kind of preparing for this election to kind of install a new government in Cambodia after the Vietnamese were kind of kicked out
Hmm.
after occupying the country for a few years. And so as soon as my parents heard that now you can the country was reopening, they just left France and went back to Cambodia to kind of get ready for this new Cambodia that was, they were preparing because they signed the peace accord in Paris in 91, I think,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And after 91, my parents started to go back to Cambodia. So when I came back to France, my parents were not in Cambodia anymore, not in France anymore. They were already in Cambodia. So
Who
yeah, so I had to find a job, yeah,
was your
obviously.
brother in France still?
He was in France, yeah, he was in France, yeah.
Were you able to stay with him for a bit to get by, or did you were you completely on your own?
No, 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 we were on our own. We were on our own. He wasn't. We were on our own. So we had the apartment, but
Uh-huh.
we couldn't keep the apartment. We couldn't keep the apartment for. I think I came back from America. We were in the apartment for 3 months and we got kicked out because nobody was paying the bills.
Mm.
No, never paying the bills. So we got kicked out. And so I lived at a friend's house for a while. My brother lived at some friend's house, and we just, I had to find a job, and I was doing security jobs in malls and shopping center for a while until that point where I was telling myself that this is not the life that I wanted. I'm an artist. I try even before I left to America. I tried to apply for art school,
Mm.
but they were too expensive, and they also take in consideration your grades. Your grades in general knowledge. I didn't have the grades,
Mm.
so I went to do vocational training stuff and stuff like that. So, but then I wanted to get into arts, but I couldn't get into arts. I didn't have the grades. I didn't have the money. So I was doing before I came to Cambodia. I was doing all this security job, all this labor job and stuff just to get by, just to survive and pay bills and pay for food. Until at one point I got laid off and started hanging around in staircases of my building with my friends again, smoking weed and drinking beer, and then I had this vision where I had this stuff where I couldn't see myself doing this,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed to get out. I needed to find a way to, something. And my mom actually called me from Cambodia and she said, "Hey, you should come here. If you don't have nothing to do, come to Cambodia. The election is done. Maybe there's something for you guys." And for me, like Cambodia was never in the list. I never wanted to go to Cambodia because everything that I hear about Cambodia was never positive, except the story before the war, because
Mm-hmm.
all the story before the war were all beautiful and how Cambodia was the best place on earth and stuff like that. But then after that, all you know about Cambodia is the war. So going back to Cambodia never crossed my mind until that moment when I said, okay, I'm not doing anything here in France. I don't think that I'm pursuing something that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I think the trip to America gave me the taste of traveling. The trip to America was my biggest trip of my life. I never went so far in my life as travel, because I never traveled. We never got to travel when I was in France. We did one small very short distance traveling, but never been a traveler, or go on a vacation
Well,
in a
your
different
parents are
country.
working all the time,
So
so.
yeah, exactly. So America gave me this taste of discovery. I think it was
Mm.
a cool adventure. I think I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I said, hey, okay, I'm gonna go to Cambodia and see how it is. And if I don't like it, worst come to worst, I just come back. That's it. So I took that trip. So call my mom and say, yo, I'm going. Send me some money because I didn't have money. So they find ways and to me to get some money to pay for my tickets, and they managed to have me taking the plane with this guy. I mean, a friend of theirs who's also was going to Cambodia.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, that trip, that was in '93. It was in '93. I think it was mid '93 or end of '93. I forgot. And that's the trip that changed my life, and that changed the perception of the world, actually, because when you live in France, when the media, when they talk about Asia, they never talk about Asia being this modern place. You always
Hmm.
have this kind of backward, or yeah, kind of a
Like an
different
impoverished
vision of
area of the
yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah. It's always yeah. When they talk in the media, it's like beside Europe and America, the rest of the world is all impoverished.
Hmm.
So I was imagining that from about going to Asia, and and so on the way we did a stop in Singapore, which I didn't know. I never heard a country called Singapore, you know. But we did that stop Singapore. We had to do a transit, and Singapore blew my mind because it was 1993. But I arrived in Singapore and I saw this really modern city with everybody was like it was like France, but with Asian people in
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
Everybody was look Asian, Chinese or whatever. And I never imagined that. I couldn't imagine that there was a city or place in Asia that looked like this. So I was like, okay, there's something different between what they show you on TV and what you actually see here. So yeah, and that was my first contact with Asia.
How long were you there
So that was
for?
the first thing. Three
Singapore.
days. I think 2 days.
Okay, so you
Two
got to
days. It was
explore the city
yeah, a
slash
bit. Yeah,
country.
yeah, a bit. Yeah, 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 yeah. We had to stay 2 nights because there wasn't a lot of flights to
Hmm.
Cambodia back then
Hmm.
from Singapore. So we had, I think, somehow either I wanted to stay one more day or I forgot. Anyway, so I get to stay there like 24, more than 24 hours one night and stuff. So the next day we flew. And then we took the plane to Cambodia. And then that's when I discovered the Cambodia in 1993, where, the post war Cambodia. It was hot. It was hot. It was dusty. The airport was, like there was only this kind of building over there. So you walk out of the plane and you have to walk through, across the tarmac all the way to the whatever they call it. And yeah, and then my parents were there. They welcomed me. They came to pick me up and took the car, and we drove through the Bukittinggi Airport Road to the city, and that's where I started to see, Cambodia in '93, where refugees and people coming back to the city, everybody looked poor, and but then there was a lot of people, a lot of motorcycle, a lot of bikes. The only car that we saw was the car from the UN, for the United Nations, because they organized they just finished organizing the
The election.
elections.
Hmm.
So a lot of people, a lot of military with the blue helmets, and all these white cars from the UN. And then yeah, and somehow I felt at home.
Mm.
I felt at home because everybody was looking like me, first of all, but then again, I felt like I kind of felt what happened to my people, you
Mm.
know, which I
Hmm.
couldn't imagine when I was in France. And even though my parents were talking about it, they did actually, my parents never talked about it because they never went through the Khmer Rouge, but
Hmm.
they went through a different trauma. They went through a different trauma, and my dad never really tell me anything besides they were bragging about how Cambodia was before the war and stuff like that. But then in America, my family would talk to me about all these stories of being in the camps and stuff like that, and that's how everything connected with me. And seeing my people outside, you know, trying to survive and trying to whatever they were doing back then. That created something in me, and somehow I fell home,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow it made me wanted to stay a bit longer, just to just to see, just to see, try to just to discover, just to know more about it. And then I never left.
How long were
I
you in?
arrived, never left.
How long were
Yeah,
you?
I did because I did actually. Sorry, I had a trip. I had a ticket back.
Ah, you had a
I
return
took a
flight,
round trip.
and
Yeah,
and
I
then
had a
you went
return
back.
flight. Yeah, so I had to go back, but I stayed 1 week and then I came back to Cambodia. I couldn't
Oh,
stay in France anymore. Yeah,
so how long did you live in Cambodia for until you realized that this is going to be my future?
I think I decided I after when I went back to France. When I went back to France, nothing connected with me anymore. Everything that
Mm,
was people was talking, everything that I was saying is nothing connected with me anymore. And
mm,
I couldn't wait to come back to Cambodia actually,
mm-hmm,
where
mm-hmm.
I felt at home. And then that's it. And after that, after I spent my, my return ticket, bought another ticket with no return ticket, a 1 way ticket, and that's it.
How long were
Came
you in
back and never
Cambodia
left.
before you went to France?
I think my
Went back to
tickets was
France, I mean.
for a month. I think. Yeah,
Okay, so
I had a
you were
month.
there for a month and you felt at home, went back to France, didn't feel any sort of connection to the country
Came
or
back.
the people there. So then you came back.
Yeah, anymore. I
Yeah.
came back. That's it. Yeah.
So let's talk about how you started Clap Your Hands because it was four people and it's one of the major record labels in Cambodia now. And really, you're very well respected by Cambodians all over the world. Um, how did that all start? I know you said earlier in our conversation that it was really four people that planted the seed, and you being one of them, but
Yeah,
you
yeah,
weren't the one who actually dug the hole. It was someone else who
yeah, yeah,
did that.
yeah, yeah. I think everybody brought something to the table, and so DJ Soap and Soap, my friend Soap, was the first one to actually, planted the seeds and promoted the hip hop on the radio, and then started to have this collective
Hmm.
of local rappers, hanging out with him, and he even started his own label. But I was there, helping with visuals, designing stuff for him and stuff. But I had a full time job and I had to pay bills because I had a kid very young, at young age. Uh, but then,
How old were you when you
but
had your
then, and then
child?
DJ. I was 25 years old.
Oh, okay, not too
My
young.
first child.
Yeah, okay.
No, not too young, but not too young. But yeah,
But you weren't
when
established or
when
anything yet. Like you're still trying to figure out what it is that you wanted to
yeah,
do
sure.
with your life.
Exactly. So I was working with different companies and
Hmm.
just trying to take care of my kid and myself. But
Oh, yeah,
I
let's talk
didn't
about
start
that. Can we talk about that? Just
about
before you got
about what?
started, Clap Your Hands, about what
Mhm.
you did in Cambodia to support your family.
Yeah, it was actually I didn't have to support my parents because after a while I was on my own anyway,
Hmm.
so I was just taking care of myself. But yeah, I work for a different company. I first I taught French in
Mm.
at the French whatever, what they call it, the l'Alliance Française. So it's like a French institute. So I was teaching French to adults for I think a year. Then I was teaching French at this international school for another year. At the same time, I was trying to find jobs, and but I didn't have any qualification. I don't know if you remember, but I didn't
Hmm.
really go far in study,
Mm.
so I didn't have any qualification beside the fact that I was speaking a bit of English. I was artistic for sure, but nobody needed an artistic guy back then. But they needed people who could, they needed people who could understand French and English and speak a bit of Khmer. So that helped me a lot, find jobs and learn new jobs and get hired and stuff. So yeah, so I did that, and then I also joined the military, the Cambodian army, for 2 years as well on the side because my dad, when he came back, he rejoined the army,
Uh-huh.
and so he got me a position. He got me a job in the army for 3 or 4 years, where I was working in the administration, so I was not on the front and
Okay.
fighting the Khmer Rouge and shooting people. And I was not. I was at the Ministry of Defense at this department. I was doing administrative work and translation and whatever, and assisting people. So I did that. until 1995, when I got hired by this French company, French petrol company called Total. Total is, I think, is one of the biggest, energy company in the world, but they're French. Total, and I worked from them. I worked for them for 6 years. 6 years. So I started very small and gradually climbed up the ladder. Started, and got into doing promotions and marketing for them because they saw my kind of a creative side. So they let me handle, yeah, marketing, promotion, not marketing. It was mostly advertising because I didn't have any marketing knowledge back then. So it mostly advertising and the creative stuff for the company. And that's how I got into the advertising marketing world without, learning everything on the ground. So I was working for this company, and of course on the side I was hanging out with DJ Soap and everybody else, going through my. I was going through what we call I call it a I was what's the name? What's the word? Immersive, yeah. So I was going through my immersion of Cambodia. So what I did is that when I arrived here after a couple of years of hanging out with, French Cambodian or French American, I started to hang out more with local people,
Mm.
people that I work with, trying to learn the language, trying to learn, the culture, the customs, and everything like that. So I did 7 years of immersive, life, just really trying to become a Cambodian, because of course I was not accepted as a Cambodian back then, even until, and now it's easier, of course, but back then people saw me as a foreigner, not a
Mm.
Cambodian. So when you're a kid, when you're young back then, you're a bit annoyed by that. So you're trying to really find a way to become real Cambodian. So you're learning the language, you're trying to take the habits and the custom and understand everything, and hanging out with other Cambodians and talking the slang, and so that's what I did. And so then, and at the end of the 90s, that's when we started, kind of talking about hip hop and doing events and, doing more stuff. And it's not only until 2001 that I started producing music.
Mm.
And it happens because back then I was working for this book company. So DJ Soap was doing his thing, I was helping him with visuals and graphic and stuff like that, but I wasn't producing anything yet. But what happened is that I was working for this book company called Monument Book. I think there was the only I think they are the only book company in Cambodia. There was, importing books and magazines from overseas, and I was managing their shop. And every month you get back then you have a lot of magazines, computer magazine that had free software for trial or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and one time I saw this software to do music. I was like, I don't know. I just, okay, cool. I'm just gonna take that, test it at home. And it was a software called Acid Pro and SoundForge. And what you can do is that you could take an audio, you sample it, extract it, and then you put it into this software called Acid Pro, and Acid Pro will take that sample, will loop it automatically. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be an engineer. It's just automatic. And then I saw that I could mix a sound, looped it, put some drum on it, looped it automatic, and the software put everything at the same BPM, align everything perfectly, and it becomes a music. It's like, oh wow, shit! I can put a sound, a drum kit, I put a hi hat, and I put some different sound, and everything fits perfectly. And that's it. Boom. That's when I say, oh shit, I can do that now. And after that, I started to went to the market, bought a lot of CDs with MP3, old Khmer song. Khmer song, I bought it, it was very cheap back then anyway. So I bought a whole collection of Khmer music, Khmer song from all the, whatever I could find, I bought it. And I started listening to, every CDs and every songs, and
Mm.
started sampling. And that's how I got into making hip hop beats using Khmer sample. So the thing is that DJ Soap was kind of producing these artists, but they were all rapping on beats from the industry. So they were rapping on Snoop Dogg beats, on Dr. Dre beats, on,
They weren't
what
creating their
all. I mean,
own.
no, 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 they're not. But it was okay then. It was
Mm.
okay because we didn't have any copyright law. We didn't have
Mm.
anybody suing us here, so it was okay to do that. Yeah, it was okay to that. But yeah, it was okay to that, so it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then it works. He managed to create this really cool. Yeah, there was the first rapper in Cambodia. They were the first rapper, and they were all on the working with DJ So. And but then for me it's like, oh, okay, it's okay, honestly. And I said, okay, it's okay. But then I understood that nobody was providing beats with Khmer sample, so it was okay, acceptable. So when I started making beats with Khmer sample, that's when I said, okay. I went to Soap. I said, Soap, I don't have any rapper. I got these beats. I got music. Can you give me the vocals? Give me the vocals of your artist, and I put them in my music, and that's what I did. So I hit up Soap. Send me all the vocals of his artist that was rapping on this American beat, and I started mixing them on my beat,
Hmm.
and I released two albums. I released one album in 2001, another one in 2002, and they were called Cream Remix of Khmer Hip Hop Volume 1 and 2. And that's
Oh,
how I started, yeah.
so you go by Cream as well. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So when I was in France, when I was doing graffiti
Uh-huh.
and tag, my graffiti artist name or tag name was Cream. So it was KREEM, Cream. And Cream is actually crime. It's just a
A play on
funny way
words.
to say crime,
Yeah.
a play
Okay.
on words, crime. So, but crime was already taken by somebody. Cream, CREAM, was also taken by somebody. So I
Uh-huh.
only have KREEM.
Okay.
And then when I went to Cambodia, that's how I started claiming Cream, because nobody was named, had a Cream name. So I took that name back as my producer name.
Mm.
That's my producer name. And so I was producing music, Khmer hip hop, under the Cream name, the Cream
Hmm.
alias. So yeah, that's how I get into making beats, Khmer hip hop beats back then, and then I took the vocals from these artists, the Soap artists, to put them on my music. Released two albums, and then
How do you
I
sell the
used
albums?
we didn't sell them. I mean, we put them in the market, but we
Okay.
have, and one of our friends and first supporter was Sila from Sabai. He has this media company called Sabai. He's a very prominent businessman now, but back then he had a CD shops. He was the first guy to sell CDs back then. He has a proper CD shops, and he started the first burger joint and stuff like that. So very another pioneer on his own, and he was young back then. He was the one who actually stuck our CD, my CD. He stuck my CD at his place. And then what I did as well is that I used there was a lot of pirated CDs back then as well.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I used the pirating network to actually promote my CDs, my music. Yeah. So what we do is that you give it to them. You say, "Yo, I don't want money. Just take it, copy it, and sell it to
Just so you
whatever
can
you
get
want."
your music
That's
out
what
there.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
didn't make
exactly.
any money.
And so we did that.
Did you make money
No,
off
we didn't
those?
make money.
Yeah. There's okay.
No, 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 of course not. Of course not. No, there was no market. There was no really people buying it. Some tourists. But we did it to have exposure, at least to have it out
Hmm.
there. And we printed, I printed 300, 400 CDs each time and give it away for free to clubs, to bars, and whatever. That's what we did back then.
Hmm.
So, and that's how the music, and that's how actually um, a lot of kids started to rap because of DJ Soap as well, and whatever they were seeing. I mean, the most famous rapper back then was DJ Sedai. He made a hit. He did this rap, and it was very famous. So I think this also made kids to want to rap, and
Hmm.
and and then they didn't know who to talk to and stuff like that. So a lot of people starting to come to me and say, "Okay, I heard you making hip hop beats. Hey, can you do something?" So that's how I moved from being a lonely producer in my bedroom making beats to kind of having people coming and contacting me about, "Hey, can you make a beat? Can I rap on your beat?" and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It started like that. And so my first artist was Aping. That was my first official artist working with me, and then so he was working with me at this agency, and he told me that he was rapping, and actually Aping was also hanging around with DJ Soap a lot back when he was
Sorry,
younger.
he was
So
working with
somehow
you
I
at an
knew him.
agency, like a marketing agency. So this
Yeah,
was okay,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
so this is separate from the music stuff. He knew that you're doing music,
Exactly.
and
So
okay,
yeah, yeah. So while I was doing this music thing, I still had to pay my
support
bills. So
yourself.
I have
Yeah.
a job. I have a full time job to support myself. So I went on from working for this petroleum company to work for from this bookstore. Then I became I did freelance job. I got into doing graphic design as well because I learned graphic design with my jobs. So I was a freelance graphic design, and then through my graphic design skill, I got hired as a junior art director for this agency, advertising agency, and that's how I got into the agency world, the advertising, and I worked for the advertising agency for 6 years, almost 6 years. I'll be
Mm.
from junior art director to creative director. That's how I built, my branding and my advertising knowledge from working with these agencies. But still, at the same time, I was still making music on the side. I was
Mm-hmm.
still building what was becoming KlapYaHandz. You know, so I signed my first. I wasn't signed. He was there. He was there, and we worked together. I think and that's when we decided to work on his first album, his launch album, and we did that. I mean, it was very naive back then. We were just doing things. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what we were doing anyway. It was just like, hey, let's do this. And that's when I created the brand KlapYaHandz. I said, okay, I need to launch his album under something, some kind of brand. And I was already doing, this how you call that, rough logo of this Encore, Encore logo, which is the KlapYaHandz logo. I was doing a draft, but I had a different name back then. It wasn't KlapYaHandz back then. It was Triumph. I think it was Triumph back then with the Encore logo on it. I still
Uh-huh.
have the logo somewhere, and then I changed to KlapYaHandz. I changed to KlapYaHandz because one of my favorite rap band in the '90s, early '90s, was these guys from the East Coast called Das FX,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a Das FX has this track called KlapYaHandz that I don't know somehow stayed in my mind.
How does it
But then
go? If
again, I
if
like
I'm
the
thinking
sound
of the right song, can you kind of like give me how it sounds?
from Das FX.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, they sample a track from this rock band. Um, I forgot the name of that song, but that song goes. The original song goes. Dun, 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 dun. Clap your hands down, dun, 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 clap your hands down, people, clap your hands.
Okay, I'm gonna have
So
to look for that.
that's effect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's effect sampled these guys and made a song called "Clap Your Hands Down."
Mm.
In hip hop, clap your hands down. And so this stayed in my mind. But also one of the reason I choose the name is because first of all it sounded good for me. Then the meaning was good because clap your hands for me was living in Cambodia after by that time I was in Cambodia for 7, 8, 9, almost 10 years. I went to a lot of show. I went to a lot of concert, and people didn't clap their hand. People didn't clap their hand. I think somehow people didn't forgot about it, forgot about the gesture, the act of clapping your hand, showing appreciation. That a lot of people on stage, a lot of the MC back then, a lot of hosts of those concerts were always asking the audience to clap. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
some tera muy, some ho muy, and I'm not used to that. You live in the West, and people show appreciation to music and to plays, and then they clap their hands. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's natural. It's a way to show appreciation for the arts or for the music or for a person or for a
Mm-hmm.
speech or whatever. So I think one of the reasons I stick to clap your hands is because of that meaning that I wanted to bring back that fact that that I wanted to bring back arts and bring something beautiful, so beautiful that people want to clap their hands when they
Mm-hmm.
hear it or when they see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, clap your
I have a
hands was the
question.
name.
Is it a cultural
Yeah,
thing or was that lost during Khmer Kaham era?
I think it's the Michael era.
Yeah.
Michael, I didn't live in the '60s. I can't tell you what was the custom, the habit in the '60s when people was watching show
Mm-hmm.
or watching theater and stuff. But I feel like in every country, and I think I don't know what is how old is the act of
Clapping the hands.
applause
Yeah.
and
But it seems
yeah, clapping
universal.
hands. I don't know when it started. Yeah, it's universal. So it's just a natural that when somebody finished a speech or somebody finished a song, people would just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened, but my theory is that it stopped because of the Khmer Rouge. Because first of all, I mean, the Khmer Rouge targeted a lot of artists.
Yeah.
They targeted a lot of intellectual writers and all that stuff. And then after the Khmer Rouge, we went into the under the occupation
So,
of Vietnam. I
mm-hmm.
mean, we were under the occupation because they came and freed the country from the Khmer Rouge, and then so it was a communist state. So again, it was, you couldn't gather, you can do party, you can do anything, and the only time people applause was for after political speech and whatever, all this stuff. And I think it got lost because of that, just
Mm-hmm.
simply
Makes
because
sense.
there was not a lot of arts. There wasn't a lot of arts and performance in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the 90s, people and the government was so busy rebuilding the country that arts was not a priority back then.
Mm-hmm.
So then it became a force, a form of entertainment because karaoke came in the 90s as well, mid 90s karaoke. A bit of film was made as well, but people kind of lost the
Yeah.
habit of clapping. I feel
Yeah.
so somehow, some way. That's why that a lot of the hosts back in the end of the 90s, even in hip hop, even just soap or people who was on stage, they always had to ask, "Hey, some ho mui,
Mm.
oh, some tiat nai mui," please applause. So,
Mm-hmm.
and which is weird for me,
Mm-hmm.
because you grew up, you don't have to ask people to applaud if people appreciate. So there was that, and I felt like people was, I wouldn't say they were numb uh, towards culture and arts and stuff like that, but
They didn't know what
something
to
there was
do after.
there was a yeah, there was a hole. There was
Yeah.
something broke
So it's not like that
along the
anymore,
way.
I'm assuming.
Not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Not anymore. Not anymore. I would say that now it's yeah. Of course, people now applause,
Mm-hmm.
and but I would say that it'll yeah. People applause. I think
I
I think
love the
people.
story behind the name
Yeah.
Clap Your Hands. Like that is so significant.
Mm,
It
thank you.
captures a
Yeah,
part of Cambodian history that not a lot of people are aware of. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah. Yeah. And I mean, for me, this is my theory. So I'm not academia. I'm not a guy, a scholar. So I didn't study and went deep into studying. But this is
But
from
that's your
what I
personal
observe
lived
and what I
experience.
know. Yeah, that's my personal live experience. So even now, I even tell my artists that you are not supposed to ask your audience to applause for you. You shouldn't. You should not. People should, and it happens now. I mean, I'm sure Vanda, after his performance on stage and finish, people will applaud. They don't have. Nobody needs. If they like you, if your audience like you, they will applause and they
Mm-hmm.
will show it. They will
Mm-hmm.
show appreciation for your arts, and you don't need to ask them. So that's the goal. And actually, this is also the work of what we do here at KlapYaHandz, is that we try to, and again, our slogan is more than music. We're not here just to, for the past 20 years, it was never really about making music. It was about, changing culture, bringing something new to the culture and moving the culture forward, always bringing innovation and stuff like that. It was more about bringing, it's more like a movement and a mindset, and making people applause without asking them to applause. It was one of our mission as well. You're not supposed, as an artist, you're not supposed to beg your audience to applause. You're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to create something that's beautiful, so beautiful that you don't even have to ask people. They will appreciate, they will connect, and they will say, "Oh fuck, man, I love it."
Mm-hmm.
This
It
is
kind
what
of
as
reminds
an artist you should do.
It reminds me of my conversation with Satara Lim of Khmer Renaissance. I asked him, "How did you
Mm,
come up with the name Khmer Renaissance for Instagram?" And he's like, "Actually, I credit that to Sok Visal because you had mentioned that Cambodia is going through a renaissance, and that really stuck with him." When did you feel
mhm.
that Cambodia was going through a renaissance?
Um, I think, okay, at the end of the 90s, I was like I told you, I told you that I was doing graphic design and stuff, and I did a t-shirt, and I can show you somewhere, but I designed a t-shirt with the palm tree,
Mm-hmm.
because palm tree was for me Cambodia, and it has renaissance, yeah, renaissance back then. And why I had a result, I think I felt back then, when you live in Cambodia in the 90s, and you see what, the country is going through, the transformation and then the struggle and all that stuff, you still feel that this country is moving forward no matter what, and you still feel there's a lot of work to be done. It's like you're actually living in this moment of Cambodia where there's so many things to be done. There's so much stuff. It's not like if I go back to Europe right now, if I go back to France, and I feel like everything has been done already. there's it's like you hit the ceiling.
Mm.
There's no other way to develop beside maybe the AI thing. Maybe the AI is going to bring something new to the society, but nothing else beside that. While in Cambodia in the 90s, man, you didn't have like proper roads. We didn't still have electricity. Electricity was always there was always a cut all the time. There was so much stuff to be done. There was so much stuff to create that I think back then we all felt like there was this we had this opportunity to actually build and shape the world that we wanted back then.
Mm-hmm.
And for me as an artist, it was about arts. It was about doing it through art, doing it through music. Like I told you, my dream when I was a kid was never to do music. It was to be a filmmaker. But somehow I got into music, because I love music, because it's still in the realm of arts. But I felt like you could do I felt like arts was bringing this life into our society back then. Again, that I mean, when I say that, it's like, yeah, there was no motion, there was no emotion. Like I said, people would go watch a concert and they just stand and that's it. The
Mm-hmm.
singer finished singing, they stand. So there was no life. So I think everything that we were doing, and I think people of my generation who started kind of hip hop with me at the same time back then, they felt like that they could change things. They were bringing something vibrant and exciting to this society, this world, and 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 so we really felt like it was a way to restart the country,
Mm-hmm.
from
Reignite it.
new
Yeah.
basic, these new foundations that we were building, and luckily it's because also we were from the diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
I think local kids who would live there, they couldn't do the things that we were doing. And that's why I never I never really brag about it. I never really because we had an edge compared to local kids. We all grew up abroad, but we were there early. That's the thing, is that luckily we were there early, and we brought what we knew of the West, and we brought it here and just started to mix it with our, the local culture, and started something new and fresh. And we didn't know we were we didn't know it. We didn't care that we were pioneering anything back then. We were just having fun, and we thought that we were doing something exciting and new
Mm-hmm.
and fresh, and we were having a lot of fun back then. So
So it's
yeah,
been over 20 years, almost 30 years now
yeah.
since you
Mm.
started this movement. How far along do you think we are? Like, are we're still in the middle of it? Are we still in the beginning? I don't see an end anytime soon. I feel like we're still in this renaissance, or this reclaiming of our heritage and redefining what Cambodians are stage.
Yeah, I think so. I've been here 33 years, I think. And for me, Cambodia right now is only about 30 years old, 33 years old, maybe. The new date of birth of Cambodia for me is 1993. That was the year that Cambodia was reborn. So at the end of the day, it's only 33 years. And for me, Cambodia just started its adult life, just started its adult life, and there's still more room to grow for Cambodia, but also for the Cambodian people. And again, uh, the music industry or the film industry is very young.
Mm-hmm.
The music industry for me is about 9 years, 10 years top.
Have
The
you
film industry is
have you
about
released
10
any
years
films?
as well. Ah, yeah, yeah, of course I did.
Okay, I
I
didn't
did.
know that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I did a lot of stuff,
Can we
but
find them
yeah,
on YouTube?
I no, 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 not yet, not yet, not yet,
Okay.
not yet. So yeah, I did my film. I can talk about it later,
Hmm.
but I did my actually. I finally realized my dream of becoming a filmmaker. So I did. So I was involved in the making of at least four feature film, and three that I directed, co-directed, produced, co-produced. Anyway, I mean, I did what I wanted to do. So I managed to do this. So what was talking about before that? We were talking about how many years, 20 years, 30 years,
Yeah,
20
you said that we're just in the young adult phase right now.
yes,
Cambodia
exactly,
is.
exactly. So like I was saying that even the Cambodian music industry it's
It's
10
young.
years max.
Yeah.
Yes, very young. The film industry in Cambodia is also the new film industry is actually 10 years max,
Mm-hmm.
and then COVID came, 5 years ago, or I forgot when. Yeah, 5 years ago, COVID came and kind of stopped the progress. And so we back at zero. Actually, we actually back now, back to almost square one. But then, uh, but then but then thanks to the technology, I think we are able to bounce back
Expedite it.
faster
Yeah.
and further. And yeah, exactly. So I'm not so worried about that. It's just that now we're still at the beginning of this new era
Mm-hmm.
of the creative industry of Cambodian creative industry for me. And I'm not talking about the other industry. I don't know much about the other industry. For me, the creative industry is where am I and where it's more my expertise. And so we see it at the beginning, and there's so much room to grow, and there's so much more things to do, and I'm actually very very excited about what's gonna happen in the future. I think for me is we're still I'm still pursuing the dream of making our first international hits, having a Cambodian song that's going to be internationally listened by, people in America, in France, in Europe, in Australia. We haven't had that yet. We haven't had that one, and it should happen. If Korea managed to do this, if Vietnam managed to do, we should be able to manage it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all about us trying to find the right sound that's going to become viral globally. So we haven't done that yet. We haven't had any Cambodian artists who cross over to other country around the world. I'm talking about a Cambodian artist that can perform, sing, or rap in English, for example. Like perfect English, who could cross over to any country around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Indonesia have that. The Thai have that.
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam has that. We don't have anybody. So there's so much more things to do that we
Mm-hmm.
haven't done yet.
Having said
And
that,
yeah,
then
so it's
you
the
said there's lots
beginning.
of room to grow, and we're just beginning. I'm not really. I don't really know much about the music industry, and
Mm-hmm.
all I know are the two major labels. Well, I consider two
Mm-hmm.
major labels: yours and
Mm-hmm.
Maramai.
Manama, yeah.
Are there other record labels in Cambodia?
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
Okay.
I mean, that's why we wish we can call the music industry an industry is because you
Mm-hmm.
have many players, you have a lot of labels. Yeah, there's a competition going on, of course, for sure. It's a small market, but you still have a lot of I think I can count at least 10 labels,
Mm-hmm.
10 proper labels. And talking about companies that manage artists, develop artists, produce music, and market the music of their artists. There's at least 10, 10. And for a country with 17 million people, I think, yeah, it's not bad. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and there's still more room for more labels and for more artists, for sure. um, but then again, it's still the beginning. 10 labels, I think. I don't know, in America or in France, you have hundreds or maybe thousands of music labels, and then you have, 100,000 of artists, over there. So musicians and stuff, and I think there's so much. I mean, even cinema, even Cambodian cinema,
Mm-hmm.
cinema hasn't gone that far yet. I mean, for example, we have the film of Anti-Archive.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Chudavi and his collective of young directors, young producers who are actually making a lot of noise in the international festival. They represent Cambodia, but then again, you don't have another. You haven't had any super commercial Cambodian successful film out there yet. Something that
Is
that
film
that,
production
that was.
is a film production company something in the works for you, or do you have it established right
No,
now?
no, no, no. I've established a film company. Like I said, I couldn't have produced feature film without a company. So I had
Uh-huh.
a company. I have a film company for like 15, 20 years now already. I would say
Okay.
15 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I produced my movie under my company. It's
What
just
is it
that
called?
when- 802 films,
Okay, you're gonna have to
802,
802. Okay, 80.
802. Yeah, 802. You know what 802
No,
is?
I was gonna add that was my next question.
800, 802 80 is the date of birth of the Khmer Empire.
Oh, okay.
802. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so
I
that's the name of
love
my production
that.
company, which is.
Okay.
But I had to kind of put it on hold for now because yeah, the COVID came and we stopped production. Somehow my last project under 802 is a short film that I produced last year, no, 2 years ago, for with the American director that actually went is did a lot of film festival around the world. That was my last project, but yeah, I still have the company. It's just that I'm mostly focused on the music now, but
Hmm.
I'm also focused on a lot of new projects, very exciting project for the future.
Can you
But
tell me a couple of them?
maybe towards the end.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
we're
I
getting
can,
we're getting
yeah,
near the
I can.
end. You know what? I didn't
Yeah,
ask you
okay,
like
okay.
the questions of I know what inspired you. Like hip hop culture inspired you. Your time in the States inspired you, and obviously growing up in France had an influence in the sort of work that you do now. Did you have like
Yeah, yeah.
people that you looked up to when you were growing up for like did you have anyone that you looked to for guidance? I think you mentioned your cousin played Cambodian music and that's when you really got captivated by it because he had the
Um,
stories to tell.
I think no, I think most of my role model were filmmakers.
Mm,
Filmmakers, like I said, I think more for me is I always wanted to be a filmmaker first and foremost. And so, Steven Spielberg, John Carpenter, all these directors of genre film of the 70s, 80s, those are my, Ridley Scott, those are my idol. Those are the people I look up to, and those people who inspired me and made who I am. On top of hip hop, of course, hip hop producers and mostly producers and some rappers. But in terms of real life models, I never had real life models. I mean, like I said, and I love my dad now because we since he's older, since he left politics, we try to catch up. I can see that he knows that he regrets that he didn't get to spend as much time with us when he was younger and stuff like that. So I wish he could have been my role model, but he was never. At the same time, as you know, I feel like some of the principle who I am today also came from them, but indirectly, but somehow, some way. But no role model. I think
mm-hmm.
I had people who came into my life and showed me things, but I was mostly what I call a autodidact, somebody who learned
Self
everything by
teaches.
myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I always did that. Everything that I know, whether it's music, production, running a label, running a business, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody give me a manual or tell me how to run a business.
So you
So
didn't
I
have a
went through a
mentor.
lot of. No, no, I didn't. I
You
didn't
just
have a
figured
mentor.
things out
I think I
yourself.
had people. Yeah, I think I had people who came into my life and showed me things, but
Mm-hmm.
no real mentor. So
Mm.
I learned a lot of stuff for myself. And but I one thing for sure is that my mom was, even though um, there was a lot of friction between me and her. She's kind of a role model indirectly,
Mm-hmm.
even though I mean my mom. I mean I think a lot of the issue that I had within me came from my relationship with my parents and the life they gave me. Like when I was younger. But somehow, if I am a if I am a hard worker, if I am a guy who gets shit done, get things done. Sorry, if I'm a provider. If I'm a provider and I'm nonstop doing my thing, it's because I saw my mom working very hard, all my life, and and also yeah. So I could say that she's my role model as well,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
indirectly. But if yeah, I think it's things something that I saw when all my life is seeing my mom doing so many things at the same time, running the house, taking care of the kids, working, making sure her husband is happy because obviously my dad wasn't happy in France. He's happy now only since he's been back in Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I could say my mom was my role model, even though I have a lot of friction with her
I
because
get
it's
it.
a love and hate relationship,
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And now I'm more about trying to fix things with them, because it's time. It's like, oh, come on, how long I'm gonna bring, how long I'm gonna carry all this negativity about the past. So it's mostly I'm trying to heal with them right now. So it's fine, it's good.
You mentioned that you were in survival mode for a long time, and it was in adulthood that you realized that you were still operating in
Yeah.
survival mode. Are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you in thriving mode now? Or are you
Yes.
still work operating as if you're in survival
No,
mode?
no, 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 no. I'm in. I switched. I switched almost 2 years ago,
Wow,
and
just recently.
yeah, 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 yeah. I did a lot. I'm telling you, I'm from that generation that carry. Even though my parents didn't go through the Khmer Rouge, they
Mm-hmm.
had a different trauma, and they created an environment, a life when we were younger that had a lot of impact on us on how when we became adults. So I had a lot of issue with women, and this my issue with women was due to the fact of my friction with my mom, and so and these I have to fix, but it was late. I started fixing them quite late, and not only that, but also the survival mode. I mean, the one of the thing that one of my downfall, I would say, it was my obsession for culture. So I, there was a period in my life, and I think it was 2012 all the way to 2016. I was just doing it for the arts. I was so exciting about the things that I was doing, music and events and films. I got into making film that I forgot about business. I forgot about kids, my kids. I forgot about my relationships. I was so much invested in my work, making all these super things, and then ego comes in at one
Mm.
point because everybody look at you like a star, like this guy who's making things super cool, and that kind of poison you as well, poison your thinking, your
Mm.
mindset, and you forget about that, and I became so much obsessed by making arts and doing the most that I can that I forgot about livelihood and finding money to pay bills because and I could and I have years that I was making a lot of money and that was good, but then I gave them up to focus on making films that didn't bring anything, for that's the story. That's the story. And so my point is that I was kind of repeating a patterns that I saw with my parents who was obsessed by Cambodia. They were
Mm.
obsessed by coming back to Cambodia, and because of that, they kind of put us on the side. So I repeat that pattern. So a lot, and that's why I'm just saying that everything that all my healing, all my fixing came very late in my life, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
2 years, 3 years ago. I think it started in 2021. Yeah, my healing and my process of trying to fix my internal wounds and whatever I was carrying in my started in 2001 after my last separation, my final separation, divorce with my partner back then, and it was which was really hard on me,
So
and I
that was the
started to wonder
catalyst.
why. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
I started to just wonder why, why I was like that. Why, why couldn't have a stable life again? See, I told you about my unstable life when I was a kid, and I carried
Mm-hmm.
that until my adult life. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was, it was chaos, but then it was okay, and it was okay until I didn't have money to pay for my kids' school. What did I do? I was instead of taking all this commercial work, I was making a movie in somewhere in the countryside, and you really think about that. So yeah, and this obsession, there was an obsession that I had at one point. I had to okay, no more.
Mm.
I almost decided to quit one of them. So should I quit filmmaking or should I quit music? And I went through all these different things where I had to re-question myself about who I am, what I'm doing, what's my purpose, and why am I doing so much? Why am I pursuing all this whatever that and but then this is the as an artist, this is what you go through,
Mm-hmm.
and mostly when when you were a kid, you're going through all this different survival mode and seeing your parents being obsessed by Cambodia and not understanding why they prioritize Cambodia over their own kids. And this is part of all this process that I was repeating after that. I kind of this was transferred to me, and I was redoing whatever they were doing. I was doing as well,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and I think it was part of this. I don't know
Okay.
if it was PTSD or whatever,
Mm.
something that was going on, which I'm which I've been fixing since 2021. And then 2 years ago, yeah, no more. It was no more about survival. It was about now. It was about yeah, it was about striving. It's about really focusing on relationship. That's what I said. My parents. I've been working to get along better with my parents now. Working with making sure my next relationship is going to be more stable, and everything that we'll do with well better balance than me just pursuing the arts and just trying to go wherever I was going back then.
Yeah, so
So yeah.
thriving for you is not just about um business success, the stuff that people
Hmm.
see. It's about your personal
No, 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 no.
relationships as well. Mhm.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was never. I think people see what you achieve,
Mhm.
but they don't see what you go through to achieve them,
Mhm.
and what you also go through as a person or as an artist. And so they see the result, they see the achievement, and of course, with social media, you see, yeah,
Yeah,
and
they just
so
have
yeah,
the highlight reels. Do you think you
yeah.
could have gotten to where you are now, um, without doing what you did, like just focusing so much on the film and music? Like, could you have
No,
had a balance? No.
no, no, no. And when 5 minutes ago, I told you at one point I had to question myself, my purpose, and what I was doing because I was trying to do so much.
Yeah.
That's basically me. I'm the
Mhm.
person who try to do too much. I do multitasking. I'm a guy who love. I can work on
Oh,
I
I
can work
hear
on
you.
10 projects at the same time. Yeah, yeah. So at one point I hated that. I
Uh-huh.
said because people keep telling you that hey, you gotta be a. It's like because what's the expression? Experts in
Like a
one.
specialist? Yeah, an expert in one
Yeah,
field, a
yeah,
specialist in
yeah,
something,
yeah,
a
and
niche.
yeah, and then when you do too many things, you just average. When you
Mm.
do something, you become an expert, you become very good. But when you do too many things, you become an average person.
Mhm.
So I kept hearing people telling me, Visal, you gotta stop doing so many things at the same time. And I try to change, but I can't change. And now I'm like, it's too late for me to change. 2 years ago, I told myself, it's too late for you to change.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Now, just enjoy it.
I feel
Just
like
enjoy it. Choose your battle.
uh-huh.
Choose your battle. Now, bring a lot of focus to your relationship, your
Uh-huh.
family, your partner, whatever. But now it's just enjoy. You are who you are. I think in this lifetime, this is your mission. This is who you're gonna be. I don't think people were gonna step. I can't stop myself from doing what I do. So I'm just doing it. And I'm telling you now, if I'm saying I give you the list of the project I'm working on, it's like the same thing. It's what I was doing 10 years ago. I got 15 projects and I'm
Uh-huh.
working on this at the same time, going at the same time, but I
But you're
do it.
better able to
And
balance the
yes,
two.
exactly. And then I have AI to help me as well right now. So it's a bit more, yeah, yeah, it's a bit more, and that's why I said the future is so exciting right now. It's
Uh-huh.
because of the fact that I'm moving into a different stage of my life where after everything that I learned, in business, in even connection with people and stuff, everything that I learned, all the experience that I gathered until now, it's it's actually I got this baggage that I'm using now to actually build the next 25 years of my life, and it's so exciting because, like I said, again, I think this AI era is actually if you if you don't understand what it could bring to you as a human and you're using it without really understanding what you could do with it, yeah, of course you're gonna see different, perception. AI is gonna take my job, or AI is gonna take the place of all the singers and all the artists because now AI can sing better than you, or AI can draw better than. No, it's not that. I don't think
Mm-mm.
so. I think
Mm-mm.
that's one side that people can see, but me, I see it as a way to actually amplify and make things better. So the exciting thing for me now is actually to build system that's going to help support and make the life of artists better. And this is actually my the thing that I'm doing now, and it's actually how can I, now that I have this experience in making films and making music and doing music festivals and all kind of shit, how can I now find ways to actually keep doing that, but this time I do it better. This time I have automated workflow. I have a system to help me, manage this thing that I don't need to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can focus on the creative side, and I could focus on the production side where it's and yeah, and I think it's going to be very, very exciting in the next few years with what you can do with AI and how, and mostly for artists, because I think people now are trying to fight those AI artists or this AI music or this AI arts or AI filmmakers,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the best time to be a human artist. This is the best time to be a human artist. This is the
Well, people
best
don't
time.
connect with AI
uh,
artists. You don't have the stories like you do. Like you're telling me
exactly,
the
exactly,
story behind Clap Your Hands and 802 Films. Like you don't have that background and that
exactly,
connection.
exactly, exactly. And this is exactly that. Exactly that. You AI will never be able to replace a violinist, a guitarist, a singer,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's time for the human artist to actually step forward and be okay. Now that you have the AI noise, I need to be more present for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do more live. I
Mm-hmm.
need to show that tell stories and connections, and so there's going to be a lot of great opportunities for artists. I think that we're living in a time where it's yeah, this is opportunities are coming. I know, now people are going back to what we call the analog life.
Mm-hmm.
People are starting to go back to reading books, listening to vinyls, listening to iPod, deconnecting a bit from the phone, even
Yeah.
though it's not going to be entirely
Yeah.
that because you,
iPads
you still need to
are
your
making a
phone. But
comeback and live
yeah,
events
yeah,
as well because
yeah, live events,
like people want to feel a connection and a sense of community, especially after
exactly,
COVID, and
and
especially now with
exactly,
AI. Like you don't know if this
exactly,
podcast you're listening to is
yeah,
a person or an AI robot.
exactly. And that's why I think human yeah human taste and human emotion can never be replaced. It's all about that now, and artists need to show themselves more now. They have to connect with their fans, and I mean it's yeah, it's just
Yeah,
really,
going back
really
to the
exciting
analog life.
what's going
Yeah,
to
well, I'm
happen.
I'm excited
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
you
yeah,
make another path for the Cambodian industry. Well, not just Cambodia, worldwide. Like this is
yeah,
something that affects everybody. That's
yeah, yeah,
awesome.
yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to ask what advice you'd give to your younger self.
what
What
is sorry,
advice would
again,
you
come again?
tell yourself? When you were in your early 20s, coming
Oh
back
yeah,
from France, what advice would you tell yourself then when you just didn't know what the hell you were going to do?
yeah, I don't know.
You'll figure it out?
Yeah, I think this is more. I think I would tell myself, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna be okay. Yeah. Um. I think I had a very kind of a tough kind of life throughout. Even though I had a lot of wins, a lot of really good moments and stuff like that. But it's never been easy. I would say, even though I can say to you that for the past 20 years of my life, since ever I started making music, I just wake up and love what I do. So I never had a moment when I woke up and I said, "Oh, I don't want to go to
Hmm.
work," unless never, unless I had a hangover or whatever, something happened. But but I'm the always the first to arrive at my place work and always the last. At one point, I was doing that. I don't do that anymore because now I have to focus on family and stuff. But just to tell you that I feel lucky to be able to do the things that I love, and I've been doing that for the past 20 years. And even now, when I see what's going to happen in the next 25 years, I'm even more excited, and my body is every day is vibrating at this high frequency that I never felt before, because like I said, I moved from survival mode to thriving mode, and it's a different way of seeing life right now. And I feel like I'm in a time of my life where I have so much experience. I have so much, I went through so much things, and I know so much things that what I have now is I'm ready for the future.
Mm,
I'm ready for the 25 years. So if all the mistake that I made the past 20 years, 25 years, yeah, I did it. I had to go through that. I'm the type of person to learn the hard way, and I cannot learn if I don't go through the hard way. And because I learn everything by myself, again, everything that I learn, I do it myself. So again, nobody give me a manual to, hey, this is how you're gonna raise your kid. Oh, this is how you're gonna run your business. No, we didn't have that. I didn't have that.
mm-hmm.
So I learned everything the hard way. But now it's like I'm like at the end of a cycle. I've been at the end of the cycle, and I've been starting a new cycle, which is like I get all this manual. I know already. I know what's gonna happen. I know what I need to do to just do my thing. So it's yeah, it's like I'm gonna do things without all the mistakes and all the trial and error because I
You've
know
been
I've
through
been
it,
through the
yeah.
trial and error. So yeah, I've been through it. So it's so and again, somehow again I bring AI because what I'm building with AI right now is just wow. It's just wow.
Yeah.
Like shit. I'm not a tech person. I'm not a tech person. I don't have code background, tech background, nothing. But then again, I'm building things with AI and with tech that's gonna make my life. Right now, I'm just experimenting with my own life, my own work. It's just crazy what I could do now, you know, and and so if I had to go back in time to talk to myself when I was 22 years old when I arrived in Cambodia, I would just pat myself on the back and I would say, "Yo, man,
You're good.
you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry, you're good. You're good."
I'm so excited
Yeah,
for the impact, to see the impact that you're going to be
yeah,
making in the
yeah,
next few years.
yeah.
Now,
25 years.
as we wrap up, I like to ask guests, what's one or two things you'd like listeners to take away from your story?
Why do
What's
I
one thing that you,
want the listener to
what,
take?
yeah, what would you like listeners to take away from your story? What lessons?
Oh,
One or two.
what lessons? Yeah, I think this first thing is don't wait too long. I think the one for me is I think all of us, and I don't know about you, Vanny, but I think all of us we carry wounds, we carry trauma, and we carry things, and 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 I think I even told that to my kids, and I said, "Yo, if you have any issue with me, don't wait until you get to my age to actually try to fix them now."
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to carry negativity. You don't want to carry those bad negative vibe with you all through your life. And I think whenever you can get rid of it,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, yeah, at the end of the day, your parents or whatever happened to you, and not talking about the hardcore thing, but the simple thing where you
Like
know
even just snapping at your kids.
misunderstanding.
Like that's
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
that
yeah.
my parents did, and I catch myself doing that to my kids
Yeah,
too. And that's a
exactly.
pattern I'm
Yeah,
trying to stop. I'm still working
ex-
on it, but
exactly. And it's to actually try to fix it
mhm,
when you're still
mhm.
young and we're still happy. I think we we want. I mean, nobody wants that, and I think, and that's why this it's important that you do this kind of a show and podcast because we Cambodians we all carry some kind of a PTSD and trauma because of what happened. That's it's inside of all of us, and your generation, my generation, even my kids' generation, because I transfer everything that happened to me. I transfer half of it to my kids
Mhm.
already, and I
Mhm.
know that because I made the mistake when they grew up, and that impacted their life now. And so in order for us as a nation, as a people to be able to move forward, is actually to try to fix that as soon as
Mhm.
possible with our own
Mhm.
kids, because if not, we're gonna yeah, if not, we I can see it in my own family, my parents, is that yeah, it's we 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 need to fix this problem with the family structure. We need to be together, like for real, be together and support each other until the end, and pass down to the next generation something better, some positive ways of thinking and ways of seeing things, and not be on a survival mode anymore.
Mhm.
And I think survival mode is not only it's not something unique to me. I think a lot of our people, a lot of for my generation, they are on survival mode. And survival mode makes you do bad things sometimes, make you take the wrong decision, make you do, crazy stuff. And so I would say that I think I wouldn't give any advice on, professional stuff, but for me is as and I think for our culture, our people, I think this is something that we need to fix because you could see the division between our people. You could see the division. You could see how much the division between our people and the view of life and what happened to them, those who stayed behind, those who left Cambodia, those who came back, those who doesn't want to come back. This is create this whole thing where, like, when are we gonna get along and start building the country like Vietnam is doing? Look at the
Mhm.
Vietnamese, wherever the community is, their community is thriving. They're striving. What about our communities? What's going on in the US, what's going on in France, or what the, you know and so until we fix those wounds and we decide that, hey, I don't want to carry those shit
Mhm.
anymore. I want to fix this with my parents. I want to fix this with my brother, and put the ego and the pride on the side. We're not going to be able to be a nation, a united nation.
Mhm.
And of course, politics and worldview and political view, everything. It's done. It's time to really focus on rebuilding our country, because if not, you know, we're gonna lose. We're gonna disappear. I don't know, man.
No, it's just gonna be.
So
It's gonna just take a longer time to get to where we want to
yeah,
be.
yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure,
Well, thank you
for sure,
so
for
much,
sure, for sure.
Mong Akun Traun, and I am so excited.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm so excited to see what you have in your sleeve, and yeah, keep doing what you're doing and spreading the positive
thank
energy.
you.
I want to thank Mong Visal for sharing his inspirational journey and his vision with us. I hope we all get to be present and enjoy time with family this summer. That's what I hope you take away from this episode, if nothing else. That's my major takeaway today. I would love to know what your major takeaway is by sending me a DM on Instagram, or if you're not shy, leave a comment on Spotify if that's where you listen. Otherwise, just send me a DM. As I mentioned in my last solo episode, I'll pop in with a couple bonus episodes over the summer, but we will be back to regular programming on September the 16th. So let's create some magical memories with family this summer. Sam Alkunchan for listening to Khmer Voices, and that is a wrap for season 2.